Same applies to the blob data types, because that is just a binary large object is what blob stands for. It can't track the individual bits that are changing within the blob. It's actually going to track the entire blob changing. So probably not a good idea to turn this CDC on a SharePoint database. In fact, you'd probably read stuff on Microsoft that it's not recommended to do it that way, just because pretty much everything in SharePoint is stored in blobs. So just something to keep in mind there with these type of databases. But all other columns that aren't listed here are basically tracked the way you would expect them to be, that if it's an int or a varchar field, it's just going to track what happens to those fields as things change through time in CDC. All right, so as I mentioned, the other part that's the newest part within SSIS 2012 is the addition of a whole bunch of stuff within SSIS to make it so that you can build packages in SSIS 2012 that will actually work a lot better with the new stuff that's, well, it's not new, it's from SQL Server 2008, but makes it so that it can consume all these CDC changes in a much more easy fashion than it would be to otherwise consume these type of fields. So these are just a few of the three new tasks or three new objects that were added basically to SSIS 2012 that you can use within your packages. The first one being the CDC control task, and I kind of put a picture there of what that looks like within SSIS 2012. If you're using SSIS 2012, that's what it looks like within it, and we'll actually see that in the demo. I'll actually show you those and where they actually appear within the tool set for SSIS 2012. But the control task is an important one, where this is how it actually tracks those LSNs that I mentioned, those log sequence numbers. This is a task you almost have to have at the front and back of every single one of your SSIS 2012 packages that you're going to use against CDC, because otherwise it kind of is going to lose track of what it has and hasn't taken care of. This control task helps manage the entire flow of how CDC works, which is normally something you would have to maintain manually if you were trying to do this, through the database engine itself. You would have to do the same thing, but you'd have to do it all on your own. At least this control task makes it a little bit easier to go through that. The CDC source is important then for when you're actually trying to read from a table that has CDC turned on it. So this will actually read that CDC table of changes and be able then to push those changes out to whatever destination you want to make it. Write them out to. It doesn't have to be to another SQL Server database on the destination side, so that's something to keep in mind. It's going to be basically at the end, using the CDC splitter that's down below. It's basically just going to create the required insert updates and deletes that would be just standard insert updates and deletes. So one of the things that some people have experimented with and had pretty good luck with the CDC thing is your source might be a SQL Server database that has CDC turned on using the CDC source, but maybe you're going to write out to an Oracle database to update an Oracle database on the other side. That is a possibility that you could do with this. There's nothing that would prevent you from setting it up that way. Your destination is kind of free to be whatever you want. I think probably 99% of the people who do this are doing it to another SQL Server database, but there is that possibility. It doesn't change anything. The output coming out of that CDC splitter, as I said, is just going to be standard OLADB or ODBC, insert, update, and delete statements. It's not going to be anything special on the output side of this. So, and as I kind of mentioned, the CDC splitter there is the kind of the control box that determines, reads that $_ operation column and basically says, is this an insert, update, or a delete, and splits it off appropriately. And then the last bullet point there is, as I mentioned, still requires a database and table be set up for CDC. So you can't use any of these options within SSIS 2012 in a package unless you're actually talking to a CDC database and table that have been set up for it appropriately. immediately. So these will not work if you're not pointing them towards something that has been properly set up already with CDC. So that's kind of the first step, is you set it up on the database engine, get it up and running there, and then you can use those as your starting points then for your SSIS 2012 package to build them. All right, so I think, yep, that was that. So that's, now we move into demo time. So I'll close this off, minimize it here for a second. And kind of what I did, I'll show you what my environment looks like from the start. Just to kind of show you there's no magic up my sleeves. I haven't pre-set up anything here other than I'm using the AdventureWorks DW 2012, and I'm not even going to use, I don't think, the AdventureWorks 2012, but I have both of them installed. So the AdventureWorks DW 2012 database, for those that don't know, is just the freely available database that's out there. It's actually on Codeplex. If you go to codeplex.com and then search for AdventureWorks, or search for, I think the other thing is like SQL database samples or something like that. It used to be the samples that were included with your SQL Server install, but since like 2008 they moved it out to Codeplex and made it freely available from there. So you just go out there, you download, it'll be the, what you'll end up downloading will be the actual MDF files for the database. So you just need to put those MDF files into the appropriate directory and attach the database. So it's really easy to set up in pretty much any environment. So that's kind of what I've done here. I've just set up the DW. It's got all the tables that come with it. As you can see, there's no CDC stuff set up currently at all, because there would be a CDC schema out here if there was. So this is basically just the flat install of the AdventureWorks DW as it looks like at the very beginning. You'll notice there's no SQL Server agent job for CDC out here. This is just the standard sys policy purge history job that gets set up when you install SQL Server. So nothing different there that's set up. There's no snapshots, anything else with this database. So this is just a flat, from the beginning setup.